My name is Mike Kipkorir, as he said. I work with a company called Verb Education, like noun, verb, adjective. So that verb education, we're in the education technology space. And I'm very happy to be here to moderate a panel of one, okay? So this is unique in its own way. I feel that we have a responsibility. I feel like we have a very heavy responsibility to try and make a topic that typically people maybe have already concluded they know everything about it in their heads. I think we have the responsibility to really try and discuss it well here. The topic is, what is the topic if you're looking at your program? Data? Data, technology for greater social impact. So you've heard the word technology, you've heard the word data, so it means no looking at your phones, okay? And not doing anything else, and we'll concentrate on the discussion here, okay? So again, we'll try and do our best, the two of us, and we'll try and involve you here with questions and that kind of thing, okay? So thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so since it's just the two of us, I think maybe you can go ahead and introduce yourself so that...
Yeah, let me introduce myself. I was here yesterday, but happy to be back as a panelist. When I'm looking at data versus education, again, impact, and that's where I belong. I'm a director of the University Makerspace, purely unicorn, and it has a very huge impact. I'm a founder and a promoter of the Grid, which since yesterday people know about me as head of Grid. So these are the incubators. I founded two, one focusing on AI, another one in renewable energy. But later on, I received a funding of 1.4 from Timbuktu Foundation, $1 million, to set up a makerspace. You cannot run an incubator really when you don't have a maker facility. So this is where the Africa have a very big challenge. Right now we are not actually sending like printing PCB. We have the 3D that does the job better. So nothing now when we are developing a prototype, we import from China, which we used to. And that is, I'm talking from the University of Rwanda, specifically College of Science and Technology, where I'm based as a director of the Makerspace, but also a founder and a promoter of the two incubator program. Thank you, over to you.
Fantastic. So yeah, I know we'll pay a lot of attention to you. So don't even put the microphone far. Now, my question is data synonymous with technology? And the reason I ask this very simple question, which all of us know the answer, but I want to look at it a bit more intensely. We tend to say data, and we know at the back of our head we need a technology to deal with it. But is data synonymous with technology? Do we have data in the absence of technology? How do we look at it? How can we clearly distinguish the two? Data, technology.
By the way, when I'm talking, let me say anyone who is in the room and have the expertise can do some interventions. Personally, I'm from the business background and I belong to the banking sector, but also I have been in the security for many years. So, and again, I'm ending up in education. So when I look at data, actually, it can't work without technology. It can't. For example, let's give an example of a simple when we are collecting data as a researchers within the university. Any digestion of data you want to do, you can't do it without kind of technology like software and testing the models to come up with the final information that can be useful for decision making. So that's how I see it. But beyond that, again, data collections, maybe when it comes to analysis, we need technology. We need different software to analyze them for the impact. And here you want to talk of maybe social impact. Let me give an example. I belong to the innovation space. My two hubs actually are members of the African Tech Network in Africa. It's called AfriLab. It's going to be hosted this year in Nairobi, in November. No, it is October. So for us, we have a big problem within the space. For example, when I look at data and technology as a person from the tech hub, we have a huge data out there, but we cannot find them easily for decision making. Let me give an example of the funding. Every year we graduate startups. We fund them. For example, one of the hub, which is great, it funds up to 10 million per person. But the huge issue we have, and we are not able to solve, we don't know. Actually, you cannot easily track the progress of those startups that you have funded. We don't even remember them because there are many. And again, they keep coming with the same solutions. Not to us, but also go even to other competition. I heard this afternoon you are going to award the funding. But you will find the same solutions keep coming across the sectors. And actually, we need data related to what we are doing to make decisions, but also the impact people we are talking here. You cannot have an impact if you are not able to track the progress based on the huge amount of data, which we can even understand. Therefore, technology is quite important in this process.
All right. So in your case, you've obviously distinguished that data can be there, but then technology has to be very close to it in order for it to be recordable and processable. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to open it up here as well to see if there's anyone with a perspective or an opinion just along the same lines. According to you, data versus technology. I really like the way he's given us an example of data in his sector. Like he wishes he had a way or more data about all the various organizations that they work with so that you can track what they do afterwards or even to know where they have been before so that you can better serve them. Okay? So anyone from the crowd? This is one of those unique panels which cares about the crowd. Okay?
Maybe as you're waiting for somebody to come in.
So if you have a question in the meantime, just come here and I'll hand over the microphone.
As you wait, let me proceed. I will give you the context of data, or data for greater social impact. For example, when we are doing need assessment, or let's say you have a target resource allocations. For example, data on poverty levels, disease prevalence, environmental risk, can guide the efficient distribution of resources. In this case, I can even go back to my example. If you keep giving the same person same solutions, are you going to get the impact? For example, let me give an example of somebody who have tried to pitch twice, same solutions. The same solutions, actually, this gentleman was trying using sensors to identify where there is water leakage. And these are water utilities where they make losses every year, mostly owned by government. And this gentleman, actually, the idea is good. Actually, using sensors to detect water leakage along the process of water distribution in each household, even here in Tangaza, not far from here. If you move out, you will find the water leakage. And this one leads to a big, huge bill for the university. So the idea was so brilliant. But actually moving from a proof of concept, building prototype and testing, and rolling out to the market for impact doesn't take off. And this one is a concern for every incubator program, for every makerspace. We fund them, we give them money, we allocate resources. But where is the impact? We cannot be able to track the progress. We don't have a database, you know, kind of spreadsheet to monitor the progress. When you have entered for competition, you have applied, you have been funded, you have started to roll out the product. I mean, the product is out there, people are buying, not always for pitching. So this one is I don't know.
Yeah,
there are many people from the same space here, they can contribute on this.
Yeah, that's a clear example. So, anyone, please? Yeah, please come. Yeah, to the front. Yeah.
Good morning.
Okay, morning.
Do I have to come there? But I can
Okay,
speak
fine.
from here. My name is Eliza Fan Ogechi from Nguso Africa. We are one of the partners supported by Kenya Community Development Foundation on starting this thing or journey on social enterprises. I come from non-profit sector, and I must say that data and digital transformation is one of the things which we have been putting at the back door, and they are the most critical things which should make us grow as people in the social sector. And I think I'm so happy that this is given serious consideration in this particular meeting, because this is where we need to use data and technology to scale, because you cannot scale, you cannot manage your business efficiently without data. You cannot expand to other regions, or you cannot offer services and products to big people or to a lot of people without data and technology. If you see companies like Toto, Toyota, they run across the world because they have data systems which make their products and services to be delivered to the villages in Africa. So we have this particular important thing to do as social entrepreneurs. We must start by developing digital transformation strategies, no matter how small you begin, because we have data overlaying solutions from big tech like Google, Microsoft, which target small organizations and startups. And there is a lot of products which you can utilize, and I think it is a big thing that we must take the first step and use data to do more with less.
Yeah, all right, thank you so much. He clearly mentions the availability of tools and the fact that we must be able to use data to do more. Just before he speaks, we have Dr. Eric in the room now, and thank you so much for coming. The session has been on data. Maybe you can introduce yourself very briefly, and then we can hear from the gentleman.
Thank you very much. I am Dr. Eric Frank Patenvo from Côte d'Ivoire. I'm a CEO of Group Refi Consulting Global. And I'm also involved in data analysis and big data management, to make it brief. In terms of introduction, I think that's enough.
That's perfect. Fantastic. Yeah. So the gentleman, very, very briefly, please.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just step forward for the purpose of the audience. They don't have to turn their heads backwards. So my name is Wycliffe Guguni, and I'm the country director for the KTL program. I've been involved in building innovation communities. Right now, I'm also working with social entrepreneurs in a community called Fast Forward 2030, hosted by the Institute for Global Prosperity. There's a question about how do you use data, linking it up with technology to create impact. One of the things that I've been involved in doing is planning for impact and taking entrepreneurs through an innovation process, design thinking specifically, and helping them to be able to track the measurements of those impact, measurements of the outcomes, and see how they contribute to impact. So why it's important for you to plan for impact, it's because as you put in whatever resources towards creating the impact that you desire, there are intended consequences and unintended consequences. So mostly when people talk about impact, we talk about what we desire to see or what we want to achieve. But as you achieve whatever desired output, there's usually unintended consequences of those contributions to it, which also needs to be recorded. So the process of you recording both intended and intended will help inform you whether you iterate the process, you change the strategy, or you keep going as it is. That is number one. Number two, when you plan for impact, you get to know who to involve. What are the stakeholders you're going to be working with? So how the innovation process I've been working with has been is initially we do workshops. And these workshops are to define and to understand the problem or the challenge. Like good example that you've mentioned about using sensors. Let me use that as an example.
Yeah, please try to. Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Using sensors to detect leakages through the water system. So for that solution, you have to test for its viability, you have to test its scalability, and you have to test for its feasibility. To ensure before you launch into the market, you don't use so much resources. So in summary, it's about getting to plan, getting to know what stakeholders to involve, and recording both the intended and intended consequences. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that contribution. Yeah, please, big clap. Yeah, thank you. Now, for Dr. Eric then, give us a real practical example that you've seen in your work or you've experienced about how we, a situation where data has been turned into insights that have actually changed things. Just from your own example, practically.
Thank you very much. I will frame out an example in terms of situation. Let's go to a farm. Something very simple. Before harvesting, we have to sow something. And before sowing, we think about the environment, we think about what we're sowing, for whom we're doing that. So all those is considered to be data. So you have sourcing of data that you have to organize, structuralize, then you plan. From your planning, you execute something. And after executing, the result you have got, how far have they led you? So you consider it as an experiences. But that experience is a data. And if I have to recall on what my co-panelists said and the two other gentlemen, you realize that it's just combining experience already faced that you take to prepare your decision to be made. Now, the case that I will give you, as I said, in the farm, I was called to analyze the project, two projects. We had one in agriculture where they didn't use data. They just went on a process that, okay, I want to sow this and you provide this as a money and they did this. They had the farm. 2 years later on, the project collapsed. But they were people who have never been to school, who knew how the system functions. They call on other people to take note of those information, which were scrutinized, and help having what we call risk assessment. And from the risk assessment, other tools through technology were used to empower the decision making, which were data analysis tools. I won't enter deeply into the technology because I may talk about softwares and so on and so on. So I want to break it down very simple so that everybody gets to know what I'm meaning. And when we went through the process, we told them, it is through those experiences, you'll be doing this, but if you're still doing this, you face a certain level of risk, which will turn to what they have already faced as your competitors. So this other solution, this is what you have to do. And then it helps them going step by step. And today they're still working and they're making millions. So this is the example I can use to frame the issue. I don't know if it, I think I've enlightened your minds with the solution. Thank you.
So from what everyone here is saying so far, we seem to agree that data and using data is good, recording it is good. But then how come sometimes people don't do it? Almost against their self-interest. You remember the chief guest said we need to align everything along self-interest so that hopefully it can move forward. How come there are incidents where people, against even self-interest, don't go ahead and keep data and use data? I have an example here, and I would like you, Pascal, to join in with the answer. Our company, we work with schools, and we help them with assessment processes, record keeping of assessments specifically, and reporting. The process of getting teachers and school administrators to keep assessment records properly, the way they're supposed to be kept regularly across all the milestones, is a very painful thing to do. And I always wonder, it's totally against their self-interest. Like it works against their self-interest in so many ways. But then, I don't know if there's a human condition that explains it. I don't know if there's if there's a broader thing that explains it, do we need to abstract the data to just one thing only? I don't know what your experience is there.
For me, I have two experiences. Maybe depending on where I come from. Because in Rwanda, where I'm based, actually corruption, there is zero tolerance. But compared to other places that I have been, but also living in Rwanda, I was born in Tanzania. That's a very good neighbor I can refer, but I can't give examples. So when it comes, let me give an example of blockchain technologies, which really enhances transparency. It's amount of data, but it can lead to easy way of, segmenting the data depending on how you use them, but also ensuring that there is a transparency. Mainly for cash transactions, let me give an example. There are some people who will hide how the money was spent. I lived with a colleague. He's now in a prison. By the way, he's serving a prison for the public embezzlement. He used to pay using checks. When you remove a check, there is some remaining information that you keep it. So whenever we reach kind of, let's say, beyond $1 billion, he would burn the remaining part. And always when there is auditors coming, they are asking actually the references, always. So they cannot find an existing data which can guide them into a final report. And you make a, announcement that, if it is a public prosecutor can follow up with the case. So giving that an example, there are many people who don't want to hear technologies to avoid transparency and accountability. That's one. Two is another context, is where when you look at the African leaders, I'm not going to mention the names. Some of them are old. Let me give an example of professors within our universities. I'm not talking the name. Who have got the handout for the students of the last 30 years. Even the paper color have changed. So when you initiate them into AI, which really simplifies, when I want to speak today and you surprise me with a speech, I know where to go. I will just go to AI, get everything, like teaching. So why do you bother to move with, a handout you prepared for the last 30? It's about, mentality and what people don't want to shift.
Yeah.
So in Africa, typically these professors who have gone beyond 60 years, we have even some who are between 45 and 60 who behave like them. So they tend to be lazy. For example, when you say AI and machine learning, they will ask you, what are you talking? And these are, the tools that there is amount of data you can easily mine and get what you are looking for, depending on the keywords and whatever. So there are two things. People are running away from accountability. Mm-hmm. Others, they don't want to hear. They don't want to change.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I don't know, Dr. Eric, also maybe as you weigh into that, you could also finish also by telling us how then can we cure this whole thing of data? How can we have better practices with respect to data? And you can touch on what he said as well, on what he's answered to as well.
Thank you very much. I will start from what he has answered. The problem is lack of upgrading. People have difficulties following their time. They're still imprisoned into their old time, which is something we need to work about for those kind of people. Not because they don't have knowledge, but they think they have been accommodated to a way of doing things. So they need to have something worked out about change management. And that's one of the biggest problems we've been having in Africa. The change management is really problematic. And due to that problematics, we have it linked to data issues. As he has said it, we could use the blockchain to do a lot of things, and in terms of transparency. Let me take an example. For instance, you pay an electricity bill, but normally you were supposed to know exactly how much you have really consumed on the right time and anticipating your payment before even the bills comes. It is possible with the blockchain. Within the blockchain today, a social entrepreneur could plan according to his level of budgeting, how much he can spend within a month, within a year, within a day to do everything. Additional to the AI, he could do wonders. But the problem is there's a system, and we should understand that. There's a system and there's progression. If you want to bypass a system, thinking about progression, you crash. That's one of the biggest problems we've been having with the new generation. Bypassing the system and then wanting progression. You can go to progression without understanding the system and thinking about how to make the system improved, not just breaking the system. It was there before you. So you can give birth without getting pregnancy. It's been done once in the world, and I don't think it should be done again. Excuse me for the pictures. You don't get any pregnancy, you can give birth. Even the ground has to be impregnated to give us fruit. The tree comes out, and then we have what the trees bears. So it's the same thing with the data issues and technology issues. Now, the second problem is we, the youngest, have also difficulties to implement the change management towards the former generation. We see them as, no, they are already elders, so this is Generation Z, we have to do things. No, it doesn't work like that. Because to have what AI will provide to you today, he mentioned it, machine learning, which is a system telling the entire world, which has been considered as a simple room, no more like a village, but like a simple room, to learn what those considered as old generation in quotes have in their mind, practicing it, improving it, and then narrowing it in such a way that it becomes key information to be used. You don't process it like that, you can have KPIs to be used during your project. And when we talk about data for social entrepreneurs, the main data is KPI the entry, KPI as a result at the end, which means what are the key performance indicators that you should be using at the beginning of the project, during the project, and at the end of the project. And the best way to do that is to start applying to oneself, like your life. I'm coming to Kenya for a conference. How do I prepare? When did I heard about it? Am I really coming? What for am I coming? What am I intending to gain behind that conference? All these are data to be collected. Now, where do I source those data? How am I managing the sourcing of those data? It's a process. Don't take it too much scientifically, because people like tech have already eased the job for you. Just state it simply, like a villager. They are the best thinker. I have to sow. When? Why? Who are going to be the customers of that product? And according to that, the process is launched and everything is done. And at the end, everybody is satisfied. Both the internal customer and the external customer. I mean, external customer, the person going to use the product. Internal customer, those who are working to have the product coming out. They become all satisfied. And the same principle applies to social entrepreneur. And it's even more and more deeper in the social entrepreneurship. And I think our ladies can easily explain that to us because they do that every day without knowing. They collect a lot of data, they make decisions, and they take those decisions. Thank you very much.
Amazing. I think we have a very important conclusion and a very important insight there, which is have a system. In the absence of a system, you cannot expect a result. And keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it, anything to do with the data. And there are so many technology tools available right now, a lot of them for free. Okay. In the interest of time, we will stop our panel discussion there so that we can proceed for lunch and we rescue the rest of the program. And there are very interesting breakout rooms in the afternoon, as well as what you mentioned, the youth launching of the Youth Innovation Challenge as well later in the day. So thank you very much, people. Please clap for my panel members here.